If you are not training with intensity, you are probably going to spin your wheels in the gym. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And when I'm talking about intensity in this context, I mean training with both progressive overload and getting very close to muscle failure or going to muscle failure. Now, you guys will see some of this. You'll see me miss a rep on the deadlift. This was absolutely true failure because I took a breather for a second, reset, went to do another rep, and I couldn't lock it. I don't always recommend on your big movements you do that. Be very careful if it's something where you can get pinned under the bar, but movements where you can just turn loose of it, absolutely. Pull-ups, chin-ups, deadlifts, rows, yeah, hands down. Your smaller exercises, though, should generally be just a momentary failure. So when this topic comes up, people are like, well, I'm going to the end. It's like, but they never reach failure, right? They don't actually reach muscle failure. A lot of times what you'll see people do, they have a spotter helping them with multiple reps, or they're cheating. You're not necessarily really reaching failure. You're just making the reps easier, okay? If you're cheating, you're just trying to make the reps easier because you're getting close. Failure would be you go to do a rep and it just sticks at the bottom. Okay, and if you don't cheat, it just kind of stays there, and you don't have to wait there 4 seconds. Like instantly, right there, right? You saw that I almost couldn't get that rep, and then it came down, with those dumbbells, and it just stuck. And I didn't need to stand there and work on it 3 seconds. I knew when it got to the bottom, that's it. There it wasn't moving again. That's what muscle failure means. Okay, but notice the form didn't break down on stuff like that. So when we're talking about muscle failure, that is how it's defined. Momentary muscle failure. It's when you attempt to do a rep with the same form, the same range of motion, and you simply can't get it, right? You can't get the rep. It just kind of sticks. And it should be with good form, okay? But people have that weird idea. To them, intensity is oftentimes, did I grunt? Did I grind and shift under it? And it's like, that's the worst thing you can do. So again, big mistake. If you're grinding and shifting under the weight, that means one side. You use compensatory strength. This is why people get muscle imbalances. Okay? That's why you get muscle imbalances, because you're shifting under a weight and you're going to let the weak side do less work, and you're going to make the strong side do more. So the strong side keeps growing faster. Okay, that doesn't work. And people do that with dumbbells too. That's almost its own topic, all right, of why dumbbells don't correct muscle imbalances if you don't use good form. But the idea here, you go to do a rep that you can't do. But the other thing, the big thing too, it's not the intensity if you're shortchanging reps, and people do that also. They'll cheat, they'll do a half rep, and they'll skip the hardest part. Well, let me ask you the question. If you're skipping the hardest part where there's the most mechanical tension on the muscle so that you can squeeze out more reps, do you really think that you're getting more growth? You're literally missing muscle fibers. Like, you're just saying, I'm just not going to do the hard part. Well, that doesn't work, guys. Really think about that. Think about that for a moment. You're skipping the hardest part and then thinking that you're training with more intensity. No, because if you fail at the hardest part of the exercise, in most free weights, it's going to be the bottom, right? You just go to do a rep and it stretches down and sticks. That's where you want to be. And I would say to most people, if you do most of your exercises at that threshold, or close to, right when it goes to stick, now that particular set I didn't, but then the future ones I did, I think, on that exercise. Because a lot of times, if I'm going to do 3 sets, all right, first one, we can just get real close. But on a lot of movements, you're going to want to do it all the way through. All right, if you train that way and you train with sufficient training volumes, you're going to get training stimulus. Right, you're going to grow. And I would go so far as to say that it's the opposite when volume gets too low. When you're on the lower end of the volume, because I've had people say, what's the minimum? I said 5 to 6 really hard sets a week will cause decent muscle growth, right? I think you can make gains on that year round. But here's the caveat. If you're not close to failure, you're not going to gain anything. In fact, I'm going to say if you're doing only 5 or 6 sets for a muscle a week, you better be at high intensity with it. You better be at high intensity, and you better see continual progressive overload at that point, even if it's slow. But when you're that low, if you have any sets that are more than about 1 rep from failure, I wish you the best of luck. You're probably not going to gain anything unless you're a complete rank novice. If you've been lifting hard at least 6 months, decently hard, you're going to stop right there. You're not going to make any more progress. That's it. You're done. You're done. Which comes over to the next point with the intensity. We've got to have progressive overload over time. And keeping in mind, as you get more advanced, it gets very hard to progress, right? No one's telling, it's not going to be on a weekly basis anymore. Okay, forget about that. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen once you're fairly advanced lifter. Okay? But there should be a general upward trend. There should be an increase in reps, an increase in weight, right? And you could even have parameters set for rep ranges you want to hit, and when you hit those, you can add weight. But you don't have to do that. I mean, you could keep adding reps. I think 20 rep sets are still good, especially on some of your smaller movements. Right? Some of these smaller movements, absolutely works. Okay? And also for a lot of leg exercises. Some stuff you could take higher. It's fine. You can have exercises that you just continually push higher and higher reps indefinitely, as long as it's a respectable weight. Like a front raise like this. I mean, realistically, you could use a 45 forever. What if you get to sets of 20? What if you get to sets of 25? Well, if it's not the first exercise in your rotation, you keep making gains. But otherwise, you need to be adding weight. You have to have progress over time. And if you don't see the progress over time, you may not be growing. Because people say, well, I'm pushing right at it, but I'm not seeing it. Well, so then you know you're training hard enough if those sets are to failure. Are you doing enough volume? Or are you recovering enough? How's your sleep? How's your food? How's your protein? Okay. Now, if you're continually getting leaner, that's okay, because you're holding on to what you have really well and losing body fat, and the gains might be way, way, way smaller, and that's also okay. I would still mark that as progress, because any loss of body fat while retaining 100% muscle is always progress. That's progress too, towards improved physique, improved health, improved fitness. So the idea, though, here is that we should see both intensity and progressive overload. Okay? We have to see that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.